right, everybody, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Man, the days just go by so quickly, but really exciting. Altcoins have been pumping. If you haven't seen, if you've been on the stream the last couple of days and you've been watching our show, then you're most likely in profit right now. I mean, you must be in profit right now if you acted on those trades. So it's a really great day to review all of that. And it's just very, very exciting times in general. I know a lot is happening, not just in the charts, but fundamentally, news in the world. And one of the things I wanted to go over today was kind of a reminder of why we're in this, right? It's not just for financial freedom. It's also to revolutionize the way we do things in the world, to make our existence on this world better and to enrich the masses, right? And this technology can do that. And so I'm going to go a little philosophical to open up the show today. What up, Pipeline? You are always here for us. We love having you on the show. Welcome, Claudia, on LinkedIn. Yeah, really fun to be here. And I was just saying that I really want to start the show off. I always like to set the tone and set the mood. And I was going over the podcast I recorded today with Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, as y'all know. It's one of my favorite projects in the space. It's one of my first bigger investments, pretty much the first altcoin I looked into. And I really love what Charles stands for. So in this podcast, which I'm going to drop on Friday on Draper TV and on YouTube, we go over all of the reasons why we're fighting, right? Why as you know, Charles is a huge advocate for decentralization and for pushing power to the edges and creating this revolution that can enrich the average person by giving them access to these tools without having the need to trust the middlemen, to work for the middlemen, well, I'm going to go over all of that now because I have a few things I just want to kind of like get ingrained in your brain and get you pumped for that podcast because I absolutely cannot wait. But first off, I want to motivate everybody watching this space because I just saw something the other day on X, and it said that the next 4 to 6 months will be the most important of your life. That's when everything goes parabolic. Got a lot of engagement. And you know what? Like, it's absolutely right. And it could be potentially the next several years, as Trip and I were discussing, that we could be on the verge of a super cycle or even mega cycle on the road to 1 million in the next couple of years. There is no more important time in your life than right now to be dialed in, to learn how to trade. I mean, we're going to go over some of the bangers and the winners from the last couple of days. If you've been tuning into this live stream the last couple of days, you are in profit. That is huge. Of course, if you took the trade. So what we're trying to do here is teach you how to fish, teach you a skill that will enrich your life forever, as well as, adding this as trading as kind of a strategy on top of your long-term holds, right? So that's what we're trying to help you with on this stream and, teach you how to fish, not just give you the trades. But the cool thing in the trading group is actually that all of our lead analysts, they give you the top setups that are already ready to pump, right? That are already ready to go, that are primed. They're prime setups, I should say, whether they're ground level entries or breakout and retest. That's what we're doing. So what's up, BP Kolar? Did I say it right? Good morning. Good morning. No better way to start the day than talking a little motivation and reminding each other why we're here on the tough days and on the good days and what we're fighting for, right? So we're fighting for that financial freedom these next 4 to 6 months. Most important to tune in, laser focused, right? I want to go over a few things that Charles and I talked about to get you excited for the podcast with Charles Hoskinson that I did dropping on Friday. So one of those things, which also I just saw the unpacking of the new Samsung phones. I don't know if any of you are Samsung fans in the house here. A lot of people have iPhones. I'm a Samsung person all the way. So basically he was talking about AI and how we should all have access to this and that innovation means nothing without trust. So that's a big topic right now in blockchain. And a lot of the AI is trying to solve that. The decentralization, like secret network, which I'm a board member of, it's looking pretty good. It's near the bottom or starting to bottom out. Trip and I will go over that at some point, but it provides sort of that layer of security and also privacy, right? Privacy doesn't equal secrecy, and transparency doesn't equal, like you don't want to show your credit card all over the internet, right? Or your bank ID number or your account number. So we have a lot to do moving forward, but this is one of the things Charles and I discussed is bringing DeFi to Bitcoin. And we talked about how Bitcoin maxis are going to be a thing of the past. In fact, he actually said a really funny thing that he said, that maximalists will fall into a configuration setting. They'll pick the most draconian and expensive way, the Bitcoin. So basically he's saying that now Bitcoin has a brain. It can now talk to other systems. And that's what Cardano is trying to do. It's trying to bring that DeFi to Bitcoin. And they actually moved ordinals back and forth. So they're starting to be able to prove this at scale. It's a really huge thing. It says that Bitcoin has almost unlimited liquidity. And if you want to live in a world where every transaction is always secured by Bitcoin, there's a path to do so. And that is what Cardano has sort of set out to do here, which is huge, right? And just to get an idea of that opportunity, he says it's a Bitcoin DeFi is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. This is why I'm so bullish on Cardano and on ADA. It might be slow, it might lag, whatever you guys want to say. I know there's a lot of ADA lovers and a lot of ADA haters, but Charles, he's got the vision, right? And he's sticking to it. We need leaders like him in the space. Samsung, what's up? BP Kolar is a Samsung person. Pipeline too. Okay, I guess I don't know. I thought that most people were iPhone now, but I'm really a big fan of the Samsung. But back to what Charles was saying, okay? This is a massive, massive opportunity. So it's important also that we don't regress. So what I was talking about earlier is he gave Circle as sort of an example, which is kind of like a catch-22. We need it to be easy and we need institutions to feel comfortable getting involved in this space. But at the same time, he's saying it's full of decentralization middlemen and full of centralization and middlemen and like all of the USDC transactions are monitored and can be tracked. So his argument is that like that's not exactly the society we want to live in, although that's what's getting a lot of the volume now. So what he's aiming to do is to be able to do that in a decentralized way, because the key point here is not to regress. We don't want to just make a ton of money for the bankers, shave off 3% and buy that fancy house in Malibu. The whole point here is to go forward as a society to actually create this revolution. And we're not talking about $1 billion asset. We're talking about a $3 trillion ecosystem on the road to becoming a $10 trillion ecosystem by 2030. So he says that a revolution is to enrich the masses, to bring people up and push power to the edges. And that is what our goal is to do as a whole here in blockchain. Also to get financially free. There are so many good things about this space, but yeah, I digress. Back to the point. We're all crushing it here on this live stream because we've been keeping up with Trips, charts, and the lead admins of Capital Mindset. We'll even get you on maybe Friday, one of our leverage trade admins, maybe dip our toes into a little bit of leverage trading for those of you who are new to it here on YouTube. And yeah, show you the magic that we do in these in the group, because it's a great energy. Everybody's in it together and it's really fun. So I think on that note, we are ready to kick it off with the charts. And Trip, how's it going?
Hey, Megan, thank you. We're doing pretty good today. Just watching the excitement in the charts right now.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot going on. It seems like every minute something new is happening lately. We did get some breakouts on some of the coins, and yeah, let's go over that for now. Let's just revisit everything that's happening. But before we do, let's check out the winners. I mean, this is also astounding. We are constantly in the top gainers in the group of, the winners for the day. So that's really cool to see. That means that the admins are doing their job and they're looking for the absolute best setups. And that's what it's all about. So before we go on, I want to remind you that we've got the 20% off discount for the trading group in the description below. And that is lasting another 2 days until Friday. So do take advantage. We would love to have you there. And Trip, take it away.
Sure. Yeah. The first one we're going to look at, this is the H-bar setup that we've been watching for the past few days, at least here. So we were looking for a break of this ascending triangle upper trend line at the resistance at about 16.2 cents or so for H-bar. So we caught this breakout. It's broken out with some decent volume earlier. We're starting to get a retest right now while Bitcoin pulls back. So we're going to go to the Bitcoin chart in a second, but one of our leverage traders in the group actually did the leverage trade on H-bar. They had a 50x leverage trade for a 248% move already. So H-bar has already been delivering some gains for the group so far, and it's been magnifying those gains if you're doing it on leverage.
Right. Yeah. And we've been watching H-bar, over the past few weeks. And Triple saying it's primed and it's in this ascending triangle, and well, the inverse head and shoulders pattern as well. And it's looking ready to go. And here we are. It's starting to move now. So it's important to tune in to all of these sessions to try to soak this all in so you can make trades yourself. And it's great. It's looking good.
Yeah, the next one we had too was XLM. So we had the USDT paired chart before. We were looking for a break above this yellow trend line and the 200 MA and this gray resistance zone that I've added in, just so it's a bit of a buffer zone for the retest if it were to come back. But it's already been moving really well. I don't think we're going to get a retest down to this level at this point. You might get a pullback down to this dotted line at about 27, 28 cents. But this bigger picture is this massive double bottom that's in play. If I zoom out a bit, it's going to distort the chart a little, but at least you get an idea of how much bigger this setup really is, right? So same thing. One of our members was able to make a 49x leverage trade on XLM, and they got 768% already on this trade. So that was already
Wow.
a very decent move just in this little area. So yeah, if you're using leverage, you're going to get massive gains compared to just spot trading, right? But there's always a higher risk, obviously, associated with leverage trading. You should definitely know what you're doing, know how to manage your risk, and definitely you're trying to get better entries than just really you're just trying to nail an entry as close as you can to support. So that way, if the price were to come down, it's a minimal loss. But otherwise, you're just trying to get that really good risk to reward ratio for that trade.
Right. And we did go over earlier, speaking of wealth generation yesterday, I talked about how this could be the biggest wealth generation event in history, for our generation at least. And it's because of the convergence of all these technologies, all the growth we're going to have, the productivity as a society. So it's really important to just zoom out and see the macro picture and then zoom back in, right? So we can have multiple strategies here. We can have the long-term hold, which is basically, you're buying now, you're averaging in, you've been averaging in the bear market. That's your long-term hold bag. And then maybe some of you are like more swing traders where you want to get in at the bottom of a pattern and let it ride. And then some who trade the ranges so Trip, I want to ask you, going back and looking at those, support and resistance lines and the measured moves, what would be the strategy if you were trading this? Where would you take profits on what type of trades versus what your goals would be? Can we go into that for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Like for the 4 hour chart that we're zoomed into now, you would really just be trading this local range, and that's where you would be happy with your gains so far. So you're just trading it from the breakout here to the upper trend line here at about 32 cents for XLM. So this on its own could be a great trade, but we don't have any guarantee that it's going to break above this level yet. So if you were to hold it and try to hope for the break beyond it, at least the first thing you want to do is move your stop up to your entry. So if you entered on this breakout and you've seen this move come in, now you might want to consider moving that stop up. So at least if it does come down or something goes wrong or Bitcoin does something crazy all of a sudden, at least you're not taking a loss in that trade. But really, it's just if you're trying to anticipate the bigger moves, then you can move your stop up. And then if it were to break this level eventually and the double bottom neckline, then you can move your stop up again even more into profit. So even if you do get kicked out of the trade or stopped out, you're still leaving in some profit. And then you have a decent position with a really safe entry. Your stop's already in, so you can't take a loss, and then you can hold for the bigger picture trade.
Right. No, that's very valuable information. And you were saying that you think that XLM will retrace to about at 27 to 28 cents. For those who are looking to get back into this, who missed the pump, who might not have been tuning into our stream, you better tune in, guys. You better tune in. But what will we look to here for an entry from this point?
Yeah, so if you get that retest, I've just highlighted it again here with this gray support zone now. So if you do get that pullback, I mean, this is already probably pretty overbought. So the 4 hour RSI is it's almost near 90. So I wouldn't be surprised if you do get at least a short-term pullback to cool this down a little bit. So that's one thing you'd want to keep an eye on for sure. You don't want to chase the big green candles. The next thing you'd be looking for is maybe a break above this level. This is really just a take profit level, kind of extends back to over here where you bumped up it a couple times. So it's more of a TP level. I don't know if it's a really strong support yet. Really what we're going to be watching for is if it breaks this level here at about 29 to 30 cents, we're going to keep an eye on the volume. Make sure that the volume is still coming in after the break of this resistance, just so you can confirm that there's a bunch of traders anticipating that this should go a lot higher than it already is.
Right. And I like how you remind us that this is also a bunch of other traders who have eyes on the same thing, right? So we're trying to figure out what everybody else is going to be doing as well.
Right. That's the key to it, really. Like there's 1,000 different ways to trade, but if you're trading in a way that's not so common, you're probably not going to get a large school of traders that agree with your ideas, unless you have some confluence to back it up. So if you look for breaks above moving averages, like we had here, break above the trend line, and you have a very strong support or a resistance level at the time that you were trying to break above as well. So you're trying to appeal to all different types of traders, really.
Yeah, right. So, guys, if you have questions about trading strategies, anything you're struggling with, you want help with, you've got Trip as a mentor. Now, we said we're going to do these lives every day up until the end of this sale, and we might continue next week based on the feedback and time constraints. But yeah, we're really trying to give you as much help as possible here and support as possible. So let us know what charts you'd like us to trade. Maybe we'll have time at the end and any of your questions. All right, but let's keep going. I'm loving this.
Right, I'm just going to pull up one of these, the pictures that I have from earlier from the group here. So this is also XLM on the BTC pair. So as we were talking about in our previous streams, you want to see if you're going to be in something that's going to outpace Bitcoin. Otherwise, you might as well just trade Bitcoin. So we were watching this XLM BTC pair chart for a break above the 200 MA here as the entry. And we're looking for a move up to this key resistance level. These are Bitcoin denominated numbers, right? So this is really tiny, 0.00000314. But really, it's just you're looking for a move up to this level. That's our main target for the BTC pair chart. And then we're going to look at the results already just from what's happened over the past pretty much the past 24 hours. This is how much of a move we've gotten already. So 14% against Bitcoin. So if you used Bitcoin as your currency, then you would have earned 14% more Bitcoin in this trade by holding XLM instead of Bitcoin.
Okay, so these are other strategies. So this is a strategy to compound your Bitcoin gains, right? Your Bitcoin holdings to add more, stack more sats, right? Andrew, what's up? Good morning, man. You decided to drop in while hearing during the hearing with Brad Garlinghouse. All right, let us know what's going on there. Yeah, that's really interesting. Also, XRP heating up, XRP XLM. Yeah, really good. Yeah, and we were talking about the Samsung phone drop that I was watching right before this stream, and I was asking who's a Samsung user here because it feels like a lot of people are iPhone, but I've been Samsung for years, and I like what he was saying about innovation doesn't matter unless you have trust. And yeah, that was the whole beginning of the stream. So that's why we're talking about you're an iPhoner. Oh, okay, Andrew. Yeah, iPhone takes really good pictures though and stuff. I don't know. I think it's great, but for some reason I used to work with developers and they just loved how Android was open source, and I just stuck with it. I don't know. Samsung phone looks dope. Yeah, yeah. The camera on the Samsung is also really cool. But anyway, back to the charts and let us know what your strategies are, what you're trading, what you're looking at, what you may need help with. We're here to support you and give you as much value as possible. So on that note, yeah, welcome to the stream, Andrew, and let's kick things off. Let's continue.
Yeah, just to note too, so we're looking for some of the best performers in the market, right? There's a lot of coins to choose from. So you kind of got to be really picky about which coin you're going to trade when it's time to trade. So let alone the USDT pair chart and the BTC pair chart for XLM, really you want to see if they're going to have the potential to be some of the top gainers. So XLM BTC pair was actually up 10.8% at the time this picture was taken, but this is the top gainers list from Binance. So if you adjust the change over the past 24 hours, it'll show what the best performers were. So there's XLM at about 10.8%, and then HBAR not too far behind at about 5.4%. So you really can't do much better than this if you're outperforming Bitcoin and you're in the top 10. So these are the kinds of trades that we're looking for in our trading group on a regular basis.
Phenomenal. I mean, this is great. And this is only like what you say in the past 24 hours, we had a lot of these gains. Like if you were on the stream listening to this yesterday, that's how much you'd be up today if you took the trade. It's pretty cool. And we see pipeline up 10%, just long cookie. Okay, we might have a look at that one at the end again too, because we did follow that. We did have a look at that chart a few days ago, but all right. XRP, HBAR, those are some of my tops, both long-term and trading. And it looks like Andrew's in the meme coin trenches. That's brave of you. I don't hold many meme coins long-term in my long-term bag, except for a few, but I do like to trade them when they start to pop. So yeah, we also have some great setups in the group for meme coins that are primed for breakout. But let's go over this Bitcoin dominance chart, because this is what's fueling this altcoin markup phase.
Right. Yeah. So, like over the past 24 hours, same thing with dominance. It's been going in the opposite direction, and it finally broke below the support. So, we were talking about this just yesterday as well. This descending triangle. Descending triangles have a higher chance of breaking to the downside than they do to the upside. So, this move wasn't really a big surprise, and it's also a really good warning, just to get you ready for what could be coming. Right. So, without these patterns to tell you what to expect, you're really just kind of holding your finger on the trigger and waiting to pull it. But you could be waiting for a while until you have a signal like this to say, okay, now we're getting close to a confirmation of a move. So this Bitcoin dominance chart, now that it's broken lower, we've seen, like we talked about, XLM, XRP, HBAR, and a whole bunch of other coins just started taking off while this was starting to break lower. Even Ethereum had a decent move today too. Wasn't too crazy, but it started trending higher again just at the same time as dominance was pulling back.
Right. Yeah. This did help you get a better entry or understand when they might start moving based on this pattern here on this descending triangle. But what kind of a bigger picture are we painting here, Trip, as far as like when altcoins will truly start to, have their day in the sun?
Uh, well, it's kind of hard to tell right now. I mean, the bigger picture I have another chart somewhere. It might be actually the second half of this chart. Yes, here. So we can take a look. We've been looking at this Bitcoin dominance on the weekly chart. This is the point of control that we had from back in 2019. This developed up until about 2021. So that point of control it was expected to be a strong resistance level. And we actually tapped it once back here in February, and then we brushed up against it and had a sharp pullback. I don't know if you can see this if my mouse is in the way, but this red candle was a sharp pullback that we had in May. And that was another time where the altcoins had a really nice little pop during this week. So now we're starting to see, I'm going to zoom out again to the RSI. So you got bearish divergence and it's overbought. So it's above 70 or was above 70 as the divergence was playing out. So we're hoping that this divergence is enough to start a downtrend, at least locally, for Bitcoin dominance. We had a bounce over here back in September of 2020. So this level here at about 57.9%, that's the one we're going to be targeting if we do see a pullback below the point of control again down to this level. Once that happens, I think that definitely we're going to see a continued run. I mean, that could equate to maybe a couple of months for it to come down to this line. It really depends how fast it moves. If we use the amount of time it took to slowly crawl higher as an indication of how long it could take to slowly crawl down, then yeah, definitely 2 to 3 months could be a period of time you could expect for really good altcoin trading.
All right. No, that's really exciting. And the point of control, for those who can't see the chart because it's really small letters, what is that point of control right now as
Uh,
far as percentage for dominance?
Sure, I'll make it a little bigger here. We're
Hmm.
at about 64.83% for this point of control.
Right. So basically, right where it is now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. It's almost sitting right on top of it at the moment. Yep.
Right. So if we were to break below that, then potentially we could see that 2 to 3 months that you spoke about of altcoins starting to make their moves.
Right. So if we look back at let me grab the other screen. So this descending triangle, the measured move, you can measure by going from the top of the triangle down to the support, and that'll give you a measurement of whereabouts it could go. So it's really starting to line up with the meat of this move back here and pretty much the middle of the range from back here. So that could be down to about as far as 64.1% for dominance. And if we go back to the bigger chart here, 64.1, that's still right about here. So we've got a bit of a ways to go, and it's below the point of control. So that would be a key factor. If the dominance descending triangle plays out for the full measured move, then I would expect it definitely would come down below the point of control. So that would be a really good sign on the higher time frames that altcoins could have a decent run coming.
All right. So we're starting to see signs that maybe, just maybe, Bitcoin dominance is cooling off for now. So that's really cool. We've got a lot of Theta fans here on the stream. Michelle says, I'd appreciate an update on what you think about Theta's prospects for gains. Well, fundamentally, I think Theta has a lot of room to run and that it's going to do phenomenal. Long-term price targets are another thing, but if you want to see where Theta's at now and maybe some measured moves, we can take a look at that probably at the end of the stream. So do hang around, Michelle. We'll have a look at that. But right now, we're having a look at just altcoins in general. Where are we at? Right, total 3 is really indicative of what is coming. So let's go over this chart now.
Yeah, total 3, it's been slowly crawling higher. I'm going to zoom into this price action here. We've had a lot of volatility, right? So it's been going up and down, up and down, up and down. But really, overall, it's just been trending higher overall. So now we're barely poking above this white trend line. So we want to see a break above the trend line at the very minimum. But really, what we're looking for is the key resistance is a break above that 200 MA on the 1-day chart. That's going to be a stronger confirmation, in my opinion, for total 3 to break higher. And I expect at least a move to this local resistance around 934 billion. And we talked about bonk being a very similar structure. So if you had, I'm going to try to draw it here really quick. If you drew it as a cup and handle, you could imagine there's your cup. And then over here, this is pretty much where your handle is forming. So decent sized cup and handle. It doesn't look like a perfect rounded bottom, but again, it's the overall trend that's rounding out, and it's rounding out again here. So if this were to break the local resistance at 934 billion, we're looking for a move up to this key resistance around 1.13 trillion. So this would align with that Bitcoin dominance chart pullback, right? So if this starts to pull back on the weekly, then you could assume that total 3 starts to do the opposite and get that move to the upside.
Phenomenal. It's looking like it's lining up nicely. And like Trip said, the cup and handle doesn't have to line up exactly perfectly for it still to signal what's happening with the trend, right? So it's just the overall gist of where we're headed. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, definitely. If you go on Google and you do an image search for cup and handles, it's actually kind of crazy how lenient people are when they draw these patterns. Like you could call a lot of stuff a cup and handle according to Google. So really, it's just about what other people and traders are assuming is the structure is that's the same as everyone else is looking at too. So we just need to see that general agreement across the market.
Right. I want to address this comment here by Andrew. I think it's interesting. To be honest, I don't understand Cookie. I like to understand the projects I'm in. So he's talking about the memes he's in. Phoenix is one. What would you say? Because I know that traders go back and forth on this a lot. And sometimes it happens where I think, well, this one is a little bit more reliable because I know what's happening in the background. I know they're not just going to go belly up or it's going to go to zero. But when you're trading these coins, Trip, do you think much about the fundamentals, or are you mainly just focused on the charts?
To a point. I mean, the way I see it is that there's always somebody else out there or a group of others out there that think this is the next best crazy thing to invest in. So whether I not agree with that point of view or I don't see all the potential, you're really just trading that speculation, and you're assuming that there's other people that are willing to buy. And really, that's the only thing that's pushing this market forward. We don't have a lot of stuff that's actually doing real world stuff, but we see charts for those coins going up and down like crazy all the time anyways. So, there is a limit to how much fundamentals will affect what's going on in the market, but I do think that a huge chunk of it is just speculation. So at the very minimum, I might go to the Twitter page and just make sure they're doing constant updates, make sure it's not a bunch of spammy stuff. I might check out the comments to see what people are saying and just get a vibe for what's going on. But I really don't dig in too much deeper beyond that unless it's something groundbreaking or something that's done a major partnership or it's affecting the Bitcoin ecosystem like ADA is, right? So There's definitely a limit to how much I would believe into all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard predicament when you're in between investing and trading, right? Investing, I think it's really important to have conviction in what you're invested in and why long term, and your long term bags. But trading, it's what Trip is saying. It's like how many people are looking at this pattern. What are the candles telling us that's going to happen next? It's a little bit different. So I think it just depends on what you're looking to do, whether you're looking to sort of like mid to long term hold, whether you're investing or whether you're simply just trading the ranges or certain levels. So yeah, I think it's really clear to have your strategy fully understood when you're going forward. Like maybe you have a small bag where you say, okay, I'm going to hold some of this long term, but I'm going to try to trade the range as well, right? There's so many different things you can do.
Right, and trading the ranges doesn't mean you have to exit your whole position. You could take 10% profit at resistance, and maybe you can buy back 12% when it comes back for the pullback, or 15% more. So you're slowly just increasing your bag, but you're not giving it up totally and anticipating that you're going to get the big pullback that might not happen. And then you've missed your entry, you watch it run away from you, and you don't want to end up chasing stuff like that. So if you're trying to trade the range with the coin that you like, definitely don't try to sell the whole thing. Maybe just dip your toes in the water and sell a little bit and hope to get back in lower. If it doesn't work out, it's not a big deal. It's only about 10%. If it does work out, then that's great, right? Now you have a bigger bag than you had before.
Yeah, I think we can do a whole episode just on trading strategies versus investing strategies, because I think that's important now that we're getting to the point where things are starting to move again. And yeah, these questions come up a lot, Andrew. And honestly, sometimes I struggle with them as well. And I have to just think, no, actually, I'm looking for just the best setup right now. I'm not going to try to think about the coin or what's behind it or what's. So yeah, there's whatever works for you. But as long as you have that strategy and you know what you want to do. 808 Mimi's in the house. I remember this was Maui, right? Is that what we said? And thank you so much for the props. I mean, we really are trying our best to give as much value possible. So thanks for joining the stream and let us know where you're all tuning in from. It's so great to have you. Smash that like button, share it if you can, so we can start amplifying this to bigger audiences, because we really want to get that value out there. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. And GM, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm vicious. Rav. Thanks for stopping by. We're just about to get into the altcoin segment. We're about to give you some setups that are ready to pop or very close. So, like I said, if you turned in, if you tuned in the last 2 to 3 days, you are now in profit if you actually took action on those trades. So now we're giving you every stream. We're going to try to give you some of these gems from our trading group to be able to, give you some of that value as well, just following along for free here on YouTube. So yeah, Trip, let's see. Saga.
Yeah, SAGA. This is one of many coins that actually has a very similar structure. This one I like in particular just because it looks like it's got a decent accumulation going on right here on the second bottom. So you could enter into this trade just by scaling into this accumulation phase, or you could wait for the breakout as your main entry, or you can do a combination of both. So maybe you add a little bit while it's down in this range. Maybe you see a couple more red candles and it pulls back to the lower end of this range as one of your entries, and then as it breaks above that resistance, then you can add more of your position size to that trade. So we have a nice double bottom forming. The double bottom measured move is up to here at the 2.0, and that's at about 71 cents for SAGA. So we're starting to see really big patterns start to take off here. It hasn't quite moved yet, but if we use XLM as our example, where you've already seen one of these double bottoms start to take off, where's that chart? There it is. So you can assume that something else is going to follow behind it. Might not be SAGA first. This is definitely one that we have on our radar, but we have a whole bunch of stuff that we're keeping an eye on. So maybe in the next video or the one after that, we'll have something else that might be more exciting or that might have already started to take off. So we'll shift our focus if we need to. But otherwise, yeah, just the general idea is pay attention to these big double bottoms. This could be one of your great entries to get most of that move. So a 200% move, that's from the breakout itself. If you were to get in a little bit lower down here, then you start to get much bigger returns, right? So that jumps up a lot just with that little bit of a pullback down to here. So at the very bottom of the range, if we went to that shoots up to 281%. So
Wow.
if you're waiting for everything to take off and you hear stories from people saying now is the time to get into crypto, and it's like your mom or your grandma saying now it's time to get in, you're probably only going to get about these size of moves, because most of the excitement is what caused them to tell you about it. So you don't want to wait until everyone's saying, hey, look, did you see this coin? You should have bought it. Now is your chance to be at the bottom before people start saying that stuff.
Oh yeah, and Trip saying double bottom measure move. That's like music to my ears. It's double bottom season, and like Trip said, like you are in before all of the masses, before all of your friends who always tell you like, "What are you doing? You're wasting time." Blah blah blah. They're gonna jump back in and be like, "Hey, what do I buy?" And that's your signal as to like, okay, now we're getting a little bit more deeper into probably like the end of this phase of the cycle, right? So yeah, I think this is really important. Double bottom season. I like it. Yeah, Mimi's. I think we'll do a whole show just on trading strategies. And we'll also get our leverage trade admins in. Maybe we'll do a little bit of beginners leverage trading, just so you guys can see that too, because that really amplifies the gains if you know what you're doing and you understand how to do it. So next up, we've got COW. I like the name.
Yeah, Cal on the 2 hour. So this has already broken that trend line that we've been watching. You had a very good volume spike on the breakout here. So really, it's the same thing. If you zoom out, it's another one of those double bottom scenarios. This one's a little higher than the other one we were talking about on Saga. Saga is a little closer to the same level at these bottoms. Cal has already popped up a little bit. So really, you're just looking for a trade within this range locally. That's what this setup is for. And the same thing we were talking about with I think it was XLM or H bar maybe, where we don't have that confirmed break above the neckline of the pattern yet. This is more of a shorter term trade. So you could trade it just within this range for these resistance levels. Really, we're looking for down here is a retest entry where it might come down to this yellow trend line, or it could test this white horizontal support level. If you don't get in on those, then you're looking for a breakout entry above this resistance. You had a couple of bounces back here that are now turning this into a resistance level. So you want to see that breakout entry. And then really we're just taking profit close to this red resistance zone where you're getting a lot of these pokes up at this resistance. So many times it was able to pop up, but came back down. And then over here again, it popped up a bit and came back down, popped up a bit and came back down. So the safe trade as a trader would just be to take profit of this resistance and then see what happens. If you get a push up to this level and then it pulls back like it did over here and over here and over here, you might be able to compound your gains and get in again once it's pulled back down to this level.
I like that. I like that. Get it again. So that's what trading range is about. And potentially, some leverage trades between these ranges. Trip and I did talk a few streams ago about the strategy of compounding your gains. And we did discuss the 8 trades to $1 million, right? Starting with $5,000. So if you want to start with 500, you can do the math. But now is the time where you could potentially learn how to do something like that would really impact your life and really change your life, right? Depending on the amount you have to start with, you just amplify that out. But now is the time to learn how to do that. And these are the kind of setups that you could potentially start getting to work on.
Right. Yeah. So if you started with $50, then you're aiming for 10,000 after those 8 trades. If you start with
Right.
500, you're aiming for 100,000. So even if you just do it step by step, you could say that you start with 50, make it to 10 grand, and then you could take out half of that 10 grand. So you have 5 grand left. And now you're starting with that 5 grand to do your next 8 trades up to $1 million.
I mean, that's phenomenal. These numbers seem astounding, but once you actually start to think about it logically and how it works, it really is possible. So, like Trip said, you can start with baby steps, start with that $50, double that, and then work on expanding from there. But we can do maybe just one video about that because this really can change your entire life, and it's really something amazing. And Andrew, I just want to thank you. You said most of us are from the A team. Just want to support the stream. I'm really not sure too much that I know exactly what the A team is, but I like the sound of the A team, and I'm glad you're tuning in. And thanks for supporting us. We're doing our best. So 808 Mimi says yes, please. All right, 8 trades to $1 million. What was it? $50. You guys, like this is going to be a good one. I think we have to do a whole video on that Trip. So let's put that in the books, maybe for end of this week, early next week.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go over some of those ideas. And it's not as crazy as it sounds. Like, we're not saying that you could make 8 trades in a month and get to those goals. Really, it's going to take a lot of discipline on your part, where you're waiting for a very successful signal. So one of the signals that we use in our trading group the most, that has one of the highest success rates that I've ever seen, is when you're trading oversold conditions with bullish divergence. And that's not just on one time frame. We utilize a multi-time frame strategy. So we're looking at the big trends, that's the primary. You're looking at the medium trends, that's the intermediate. And then you're looking at the minor trends on the very small time frames, like the 15-minute to the 1 hour. So really, you're looking for a combination of all of those signals to appear at the same time. And what it's trying to tell you is that all 3 trends are trying to make a move when you see that reset on the highest, the middle, and the lowest time frames. Everything's trying to shift. So when you're looking for those types of moves, the daily chart might not get down to oversold levels very often. It might be like once a month, maybe twice a month for it to come down to those levels. So you're not going to expect to make all of those trades back to back instantly. It's definitely something that takes time and a lot of discipline.
Right. So that might be one strategy where you say, this is what I want to accomplish with this portfolio. And then you might have another portfolio that's just trading ranges. Right. But there's so many different strategies. But that one is one of the ones that I like the most because it's just very cool to think about. And it's possible. And with the right help and mentorship, you can get there. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one we're going to look at, I had it on this H bar chart. It's over here. Near. So near is another one. We're looking for a breakout. It's got the same double bottom that we've been talking about, right? So SAGA had it, HBAR had it, XLM had it. Now near is doing the same thing, and it hasn't quite broken out yet. So this could be one of the next movers that we're looking at. The measured move for near is at about $4.85. So from these current levels, we'll say we're looking at the break above the 272 at $2.27. So from here up to that resistance for the measured move for the double bottom, that's about 112% move for near. So it's a larger cap coin. You're not going to get the biggest gains as opposed to something like SAGA. It's a slightly smaller market cap. Really, that's what you have to be picky about, is if you start getting into the big numbers, you're going to have to start trading some of the larger cap stuff to accommodate that volume. So you're not going to get the liquidity that you expect on the smaller coins as you would on the larger caps.
Right. So all of you tuning in on Binance Live now, there's about 550. A lot of these coins are available on Binance. So yeah, you can just start dabbling in that. A lot of the coins that we do, some of them are only on MEXC or KuCoin or other types of exchanges, but a lot of the ones that we're going over, especially these larger caps, they're available on most exchanges. So I just wanted to shout out to the guys at Binance Live for tuning in, all you guys. LT, thanks for tuning in. I know you say you have to go. He's going to watch it later tonight. We appreciate it, man. This is our community we're building up that's going to thrive by the end of this. That is the goal. So near, looking ready to pop. Also one of the top narratives for AI going forward in AI infrastructure. So it's got that going for it as well.
Right, yeah. And I think that's all we really have today. We just really need to see what Bitcoin's going to do. I think we had this Bitcoin chart. I don't think we went through it yet. So we've been watching this for a couple of days, well, at least the past week actually in the group. So it's been bumping up against this resistance many times. When we were ready to do the video today, it was actually a green candle poking into this gray resistance zone. We were getting pretty excited that something could happen soon. But now we've got this red candle showing that we're getting a rejection in that area. We still are just waiting for that break to confirm if the market's going to make that big move that we're all expecting.
Right. So we're kind of just on edge, waiting for Bitcoin to make its decision. It's decision time, just like it says in the title. Which way will Bitcoin go? But yeah, things are looking good. We're slowly starting to see those signs. The double bottom season. As we wrap this up, Trip, do we have time to pull up Theta again? We have so many Theta fans here. I mean, feels like we pull this up every stream.
Yeah, I can pull up a
what's
fresh
going on.
Theta chart and I'll see what I get here for the bigger picture. So again, not too different. You got another double bottom forming. We've been talking about that for a while. We'll go up to the daily chart here. Oh yeah, and Theta's got history, right? So there's a lot of price action back here as well. So this key support level that we've been bouncing off of, this goes back to 2022 pretty much. So this is that support zone that we're watching. It might not take off necessarily like a rocket like this. We might still have a couple more, maybe a month, maybe a couple months, maybe 3 or 4 months if we get some more consolidation while it climbs higher. So it might be moving up, but we still might see corrections along the way. So really right now for Theta, you're hoping that you can get out on the ground floor and just be patient with it because the upside is massive. If we zoom out here again, we're just going to take, maybe I'll go to the 3-day. It's a little better. I'm just going to clear this up for a sec. Yeah, like just to the previous high of the last cycle, right? This was up here at about $15 for Theta. So now we're down here at about 71 cents. So the upside, if you can be patient with it, is definitely massive. We're going to pull a fib just to see what the distance has been from that top to the bottom, and we're going to fill this in with some fibs. I have to select it myself here. We'll use a full. Okay. So yeah, the best case scenario that I can imagine for Theta. This is going to sound crazy, but a lot of these coins back here, when we were in this area, we thought moves like this was just gigantic, and it was. But now we're starting to see that on some of these larger cap coins that these patterns could potentially be even bigger double bottom ideas that are playing out here. So we're talking about the mass adoption of crypto, and we've seen what Bitcoin has done, going from less than a penny up to $110,000. So if any of these coins can do something similar, then yeah, we could assume that these bigger targets could be in play. Now, again, this isn't something I would necessarily count on immediately, but maybe this is like a multi-year cycle that we haven't really seen any evidence of it stopping or going any further yet. But really, it's just, this is something we could prepare for. So again, on the extreme level, you're getting down at the very bottom. This could be closer to a 4,700% move. It would really just double the previous top. So $15 up to 31 this time for Theta.
Wow, not bad. I mean, it's fun to watch you chart that in real time too. You learn a lot, guys, just by watching Trip chart stuff, don't you? But man, Theta is one of my top holdings for long term. I also trade the ranges, but I think big things are coming for Theta. I know Mitch and the team are working on a lot on the infrastructure side, and that's what I'm invested in, man. Infrastructure picks and shovels, and $30, which is basically double last cycle. That's not a bad move at all for the current cycle if that does play out. But yeah, it's patience is key. Just like Trip said, patience is key. So let's just be patient. And Vipe Kolar, thank you so much for tuning in. We are just about ready to wrap this up. Did you have any other further thoughts on Theta, Trip?
Not really. It's just one thing that I have noticed is that there's often it's really a comparison between the log scale chart and the linear chart. I've seen some charts that respect log scale measured moves as compared to a linear scale measured moves. So again, this is the same fib down to the same bottom. If you were to measure this on log scale, you start to get really crazy numbers. That's $445 for Theta. Often, though, I don't think they ever move up to that very high peak. You might get a move at least to the 1.618, though, and this could be a reasonable number. So that's around $124 for Theta. So,
all right. I mean, this
really,
is what is fun. Is like, okay, we can chart the interim, we can chart the next, several months potentially, but looking at it on a log scale long term, what's possible if it is one of those to stand the test of time. It does disrupt this sector. I mean, wow, those price targets start to become interesting, don't they? So that's pretty cool. And we can do. I see you pulling up Cardano. I mean,
yeah, just as
let's
an
go.
example. So I'm gonna just to show what I really mean here. So before, this is a linear scale chart. So we're going to measure this move. We had an inverse head and shoulders in the last season. That's from 2019 to 2021. So this pattern is what we were looking for. And I'm going to draw in the inverse head and shoulders. Just see everybody can see it. All right. And these inverse head and shoulders, when they're on an angle, they tend to be extremely bullish, as we've seen here. So this move on linear scale, if you were to measure the pattern, so the measured move for the pattern of an inverse head and shoulders is going from the high down to the low. And then if you use that as your measurement tool, you put it near the breakout, and it just shows you where the breakout measured move would be on linear scale. And obviously, this is only going up to about 31 cents, and ADA did 10 times that much, right? So all the way to this top, it totally
Pretty
dwarfs.
amazing.
Yeah, it dwarfs the original idea. So this is what I mean about being able to switch from log scale to linear. Sometimes when crypto is extremely bullish in these massive bull runs, you see numbers that you would not expect to see. But these log scale measurements definitely give you a better idea of what's going on. So here I'm going to flip it.
That's
I can
pretty
flip it to
phenomenal,
log
Trip.
scale.
It's pretty phenomenal. I like it. I like to look at these different perspectives because, if you're a long-term investor too, you want to know what is the prospect long-term if this coin continues to succeed, to grow, to get adopted, all of those factors, if all of them play out, what is possible is really interesting. And like you said, these massive moves that look gigantic in the moment turn out to be blips on the radar, right? And we did go over this concept in previous streams as well.
Right, yeah, I wanted to show this idea again. So if you measure this move on log scale, you can see how much closer, at least we're at $1.75 compared to that 31-cent target. So you would have missed out on all of this if you were only trading the measured move on a linear scale chart. But when you flip it to that log scale, it's like, wow, it actually did do the crazy move that nobody expected. So with Theta as the comparison, I think there is no limit really to how high it could go, but I think we don't want to sell ourselves short by thinking it's going to go only up to really what the measured move could be on a linear chart, when there's potential for the move to go up to a measured move on a log scale chart.
Oh wow, that's really good stuff, Trip. I know that Cardano ADA fans are going to want to see this mapped out on a log scale as well. So we could do that potentially for the Friday stream when I launched a podcast with Charles Hoskinson. So stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll give some more gems on that stream. But guys, we just want to thank you again for being here. This is amazing. Such great energy, all of you. Thanks for all your support, Trip. Thank you so much for the gems that you're giving us each and every single day, keeping the energy high. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. And thank you so much for being here. And we will see you tomorrow.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks to you.